All right, and we are live. Thank you everyone for joining the live Q&A today here with Jeremy Gray, the CEO of Chancery Royalty, and Mario Innecco, newest director of Chancery Royalty as well, and of course behind the famous YouTube channel Innecco64. Jens, it's great to have you. First, a bit of housekeeping for anyone watching. Please ask your questions in the chat bot right next to the video. Chat box, apologies. We're here to answer your questions, so excited to have an interactive discussion. Jeremy, perhaps first a word to you. Really excited to hear what Chancery Royalty is all about.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stein, and everyone for joining. And I'm very proud to introduce Mario, who's our board. You just announced Mario is joining the board. I could not imagine a better and more qualified person to be on the board of Chancery Royalty. I'm a massive fan of Innecco64. I've been following Mario for at least 7-8 years. I listen to him twice or 3 times a week. And he just emulates, I think he represents a lot of the qualities that we're looking for in this company and building a very long-term business. So we're super happy to have Mario. Maybe just a quick introduction on Chancery. We're the new kid on the block. We're the fastest growing gold and silver royalty player in the industry. And we have big ambitions and plans to be to grow from 4,000 GEOs next year, or sorry, this year, actually 2026. 7,000 to 9,000 ounces in 27, and hopefully get up to 25,000 to 28,000 GEOs in the next 3 years. And maybe just to give a bit of a backdrop, I actually came from the royalty business. My best royalty we ever did was K92, actually. At one point, we owned 25% of K92. We had a 0.5% life of mine royalty and 8,000 ounce stream on it. We bought that stock for 15 cents back in 2016, and I think that's now trading at $25. So actually we then traded out of K92 and got in the gold mining business. 3 years later, we bought our first mine, Pilar Gold. Actually in 2021, we bought Pilar Gold. That's part of this royalty portfolio. It's a very long life business, and I suspect Pilar will produce up about 80,000 ounces when it really hits its stride. In the next 2 years. We're restarting the business right now. It's a 4 million ounce resource, but when we remodel it, I think it's going to be probably 8 to 10 million ounces. So that's a very important royalty for us. And I think what characterizes all of our portfolio is that these are big, long life royalties. So they don't have step downs, they don't have caps. They're going to go, Pilar, for example, should go for the next 40 years. Now that's 8% royalty, which sounds a lot for 8 years. This one here is 8% royalty, and after 8 years goes 3% life of mine. And for that, Pilar is taking 40% of Chancery. So it's a very valuable stake Pilar's now got of Chancery. We then, 2022, we bought Liver Gold. Liver Gold is in central Finland. That's the biggest gold mill in Europe, 6,000 tons a day. But I think the boys are going to expand that to 10,000 to 12,000 tons a day. And that royalty came on the market 2 months ago from a third-party seller, and we grabbed that opportunity. And again, that's 2.5% of that production from this beautiful mine, I think, for the next 30 to 40 years. No step downs, no caps, and both Pilar and Liver at $0 an ounce. So it's not like you're paying $1,000 or $2,000 before you get your amount. This is at $0 an ounce. And I think this royalty here in Finland, Liver Gold, is going to be extremely valuable for us in the portfolio. We then bought Tucano Gold back in 23. Now, this is not part of Chancery, but I would love it to one day be part of Chancery. That's, I think, the best gold mine or the richest gold system in Brazil. Mario is Brazilian, and we're really excited to take Mario down to Brazil soon. But Tucano is the old Great Panther Beetle Resources mine. I think there's 10 million ounces there, but it's not part of the portfolio now. But we certainly would like to talk with our partners, our shareholders, to bring that in, and that would make us a very, very significant player in the mid-tier space. We then only last year bought this beautiful mine in Arizona. Beautiful mine. It's called Gold Road, and we've agreed with Svein Harold, our chairman, to take the silver. 90% of the silver will go now to Chancery Royalty. That's effective January 1st. And that's basically building up to about 50 ounces of gold a day. And the rule of thumb in Gold Road is if you do 50 of gold, you'll probably do about 100 of silver. So that 100 ounces every day, probably for the next 30, 40 years, will go to Chancery Royalty at $0 an ounce. Now, take a step back. I think that if we were to just put these royalties on the market and sell them to groups out there, we'd probably get 200 million cash right now. But that's not what we're about. We're about building a big $1 billion plus company, bringing amazing board members like Mario onto our board and looking for more opportunities. And the one that did come along just before Christmas, which is actually our biggest, is Keffy Gold and Copper in Ethiopia. We met Harry and the team just before Christmas. We told him we love the story. I think Keffy has the best undeveloped gold and silver mine in all of Africa. And my prediction is Keffy Gold and Copper, it's listed in London, will actually be the best performing gold mining share probably in 2026 and probably the best performing stock in London. So watch out for Keffy Gold. We've done a fantastic transaction there, which really takes us to the big league. We're going to, actually Mario's going and I are going down to Ethiopia in 2 weeks. And we Mario on the second week of February, and Keffy's our fourth royalty. But if we were to roll into Kano, then to put it in perspective, we will be bigger than Elemental and we will be bigger than Versamet. Now, I'm not saying they won't grow. They're wonderful companies. We love those companies. Maybe we buy them. But they trade at 1 to 1.5 times price to NAV. And the 10 million round that's now heavily oversubscribed. Thank you for everyone for their support. We priced it only 0.2 times. So we do that because we have 2,000 amazing shareholders in our 6 companies. We actually have a 6th company. We have the fastest growing tungsten producer. It's going to be bigger than Almonte. This is in South Korea. Charles, our chairman's actually flying to South Korea, but that's a different commodity. But we're very, very excited about Chancery. We think it's going to be probably the most fastest growing royalty player. And we've done it with amazing support of the wonderful shareholders that are listening today. We don't go to banks and borrow hundreds of millions. We don't go to private equity. Our business is built on amazing support of people who actually listen to these calls. And I just want to thank you all for the tremendous response. I've never seen a response like this, actually, Stein, in the 6 companies. I've never seen the response from the investors. So yeah, that's just a short, we're basically gold miners becoming royalty guys. And I always say the royalty guys call themselves royalty companies because I think a lot of them think they are royalty. We're simple folk. We're a handshake kind of guy. We did that Keffy deal with Harry. We went binding in 3 days. Most royalty guys would take 3 to 6 months to go binding, and that's what we're about. We know these projects pretty well already. We're miners. We can see the faults pretty clearly if there are any, and we think Keffy's going to be phenomenal success in our portfolio.
Jeremy, that's an incredible introduction. We already have a lot of questions lined up, but first, perhaps the word to Mario just for a second. Of course, you've recently joined the board of Chancery Royalty. So, Mario, I would love to ask you, what really enticed you the most about Chancery Royalty to make this step and join in this way?
Well, it's been very unexpected, but it's been very exciting at the same time. I was contacted by Jeremy a couple of weeks ago about plugging the pre-IPO equity raise for Chancery. We met in London. We had a very good meeting with Jeremy and Tom. We talked for an hour, and I felt very comfortable with them. And the next day, I plugged the company on the channel. And surprisingly, Jeremy came up the next day and said, "Would you like to join the board?" And I'd never been asked to join a board of a company, so I was flattered and very excited to join this project. And like Jeremy said, it's happening very fast, and it's great to be part of it. When I started investing in gold in 2002, I graduated a few years later to looking at the mines. So this is like a progression for me. So I'm really looking forward to it. And the Brazil angle is very interesting as well, because a lot of you know that I was born and I grew up in Brazil. And one of the reasons I've been looking at gold and silver, precious metals, sound money is because I grew up in an inflationary environment, and I always wanted to understand why it happened. And I found out that it's got nothing to do with natural disasters or anything else. It's all to do with too much money printing in central banks and governments, and that the only antidote is sound money. So yeah, I'm really excited to join the board and to be asked to travel to visit these mines.
Excellent. Thank you also for the introduction, Mario. Like I outlined, we have a lot of questions lined up already, so I would like to get through them. But again, for anyone watching, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat box. We'll go through them on a first come, first served basis, and excited to get started on that. First question from Alex McBride. Good afternoon. Could you please give an update on the Keffy gold stream? Do you need to raise finances to pay the full $30 million commitment?
We've done a commitment for 20 million. Would like to take 30, but I said to Harry, let's see where we are in 2 or 3 months. It's, so 20 million is committed and we're fully funded. We've actually got that money now. So we probably, it's a sensitive issue because probably, but I said to Harry, I'd rather not take the extra royalty, because that'd be 9% gold on what is a beautiful, it's by far the best undeveloped gold mine in Africa. I can see that already. To me, it has such similarities to Tucano, our beautiful mine in northern Brazil. So the 20 million is committed. We're ready to fund when he's ready. And the extra 10, I probably would advise him not to take it. I'd love to, selfishly, but I think 6% royalty is more than enough for this beautiful mine. If he still wants the money, we'll give it to him, no problem at all.
All right. Next question we have from Ariel David. What is the capital structure? How many fully diluted shares? And what is the balance sheet for liabilities? Is there any debt? Are there further capital equity raises planned?
Yeah, so we have no debt in any of our 4 gold companies, no debt in our pure tungsten business, that's the next Almonte, and no debt here. We're debt free. And that's the beauty. When you roll in some of your own royalties, from existing gold mines, they're taking stock. So Pilar Gold's taking 14 million shares. Gold Road's taking 2.3 million shares. The current share count pre this raise is 34 million shares. So very tight structure. Now the demand for this 10 million round at $2 has been absolutely outstanding. And the board is now talking about what size we go up to. And I've said to Garrett, one of our big supporters, the board at the moment wants to only take up to 12 million, which would be another 6 million shares. So in all, it would be 40 million shares out. Very, very tight structure. And no reason it can't come out the gates at $5 to $6 a share US. If you look at our peer group, like Vox and Metala are our closest peer, I think.
Thanks for the overview, Jeremy, and thanks for everyone asking their questions. Quick outline, feel free to also ask questions to Mario. He's, of course, here to answer your questions. Next question we have is from Hendrik Brugge. How do you weigh your dividend payout ratio against using profits for growth?
Excellent question. We've committed 50% of our free cash each year to pay as dividend. We're all shareholders. We're very strict about that. And there is obviously optionality I'll give you an example. This is the best gold mine in Brazil that's coming on stream in 6 weeks. We bought that for a very good price 2 years ago, 3 years ago almost. And we found it very hard to fund, but we then found a partner and they put in 70 million, a private equity group. They're the largest shareholder of the shares. It's all equity transaction. Now, if we were to do a 3% royalty on Tucano, that's 4,500 GEOs every year for the next 20 years, at least. The best, richest gold system in Brazil I tell you, it's amazing. We'd do that for equity. So we wouldn't do it for cash. So we have optionality to pay big dividends. I saw actually, it's interesting, I saw Gold Royalty bought 1.5% royalty from Dundee on Friday on Borborema, which is, we know Borborema very well in Brazil. Nice mine, it's coming on, Aura Minerals. They paid 45 million for that, which I thought, wow, shows you what a really amazing market we're in right now. 45 million cash and shares. And hey, it's going to be a great deal for them, but they have a cap. And I think after 25,000 ounces, the royalty runs out. Whereas the royalties for ours, as I said before, run life of mine. There's no caps, there's no buybacks. And a lot of royalty companies, I think, just as an aside, are actually overstating their GEOs, because a lot of royalties have buyback clauses. And now the miners have got so much money, they can buy them back. Whereas ours are life of mine, no buybacks. So I think we should trade at a premium to our peer group. Our premium, not a discount at the moment. We're pricing at 1/5 the valuation of our peer. So, yeah. So, no, want to pay big dividends. We're very strict about that. Mario's made that clear as a board member that that's a very important factor.
Mario, any comments from your side on the dividend payout ratio?
No, I mean, it seems like a good rate. And I think a lot of people who invest in royalty companies, that's what they're looking for the income. So yeah, very pleased with that.
Yeah, we have a lot of comments. Good afternoon, Mario from Full of Hope. Welcome, Mario. You were my reason to join Chancery, from Andrea. And we also actually have a question regarding the royalty model. Perhaps, Mario, you can give a couple of words on why this model attracts you specifically, regarding if a gold price were to drop a bit or if it were to increase, what the leverage to that is, and what the risks are on a royalty model compared to a mining company.
Yeah, the advantage, I guess, and the attraction of the royalty model is that you're not doing the day-to-day running of the business, so you don't have to worry about it. For the company as well, overheads are very low. You don't have to employ as many people, and yeah, it doesn't matter as well. I mean, the cost of mining, if, let's say, the oil price were to rise, which a lot of people think it will very soon, that wouldn't affect. You'd still be getting your ounceage, gold equivalent ounces. And yeah, that's the advantage. You cut out, of course, the cost part of the mining. I guess the downside would be if there's problems and the mine isn't able to produce as much. But if you diversify, I think, and you buy, get into royalties like Jeremy and the rest of the board is looking to expand, I think it's a great model. And like Jeremy said, we're very undervalued relative to our peers right now.
Perfect. Thank you for taking us along there, Mario. Next question we have from Sanji. Thank you. You are targeting an H1 2026, first half 2026 listing. What are the specific milestones that must be hit to ensure this happens on time? And are there any blackout or lockup periods for pre-IPO investors?
There's no lockup period. We're Bermuda based, so we don't. I want to list when Liva and Pilar are producing good numbers. Live is starting right now, and we've got some. Well, I've stepped down from Liva, so I can't wear the Pilar. Sorry, I've stepped down from Pilar as CEO. Kettle is now CEO. That is just been turned on right now. So I want that producing, delivering GEOs. Liva Gold in Finland. John, we handed that over to John last year, and I think he's doing an amazing job. And I think May is when they start producing as well. So they're a little bit behind Pilar in terms of restart, but having all three as producing is very important for me for listing, and I think that's still going to be in the first half.
Perfect. Thanks for the outline there, Jeremy. For anyone watching, please continue to ask your questions in the chat, both for Jeremy and for Mario. Next question we have from Palermo Wealth. Timeline for confirming the wire funds are received and sending share information. I presume in the case of, doing the subdocs and actually wiring the transfer.
Yeah, no, I think I just want to thank everyone for their just phenomenal response and support on this $2 round for the first tranche for Keffy. Blown away, absolutely blown. I've never seen anything quite like this. Kind of makes me wonder why I ever left the royalty business 7 years ago and spent 7 years building 4 gold mines and all the stress that came with that. But we just would like all the subscription agreements by this Friday, because we're just struggling to cope with the volume of interest and the wiring, I think by the next Friday. So Ed, Max and Eric are available, and I can call me as well anytime. We have a big back office, Kale and Charles and Dale in Calgary. So no stress on that front, but just if you could, everyone, let us know by this Friday, because we kind of have to put it, we have to sort of, get this closed off, and we'll probably do a higher round before, one higher round before IPO. But let's wait and see. We'll need to talk with Mario about that.
Excellent. There's a link in the description, the first link in the description, for anyone that wants to reach out to, like you outlined yourself, Eric, Max, Edward, and the team. Next question we have from Sanji as well. Previous operators at Live struggled with ore dilution. What specific technical audits has Chancery reviewed to ensure current operator has effectively solved the historical grade control issues?
Yeah, we bought Live 3 years back in 22. We looked at every monthly report that when Nordic Mines operated from 2012 to 14. Now, I didn't see a whole lot of issue there. They were producing 3,000 to 4,000 ounces a month. That mill should do 6,000 to 8,000 ounces a month. And their issue, really, I don't think it was all dilution, or I think it was the fact that the gold price was terrible. It was the fact that Nordic Mines had an awful hedge that made them sell at an even lower price. So they were only getting like €1,000 an ounce. Today, I think the price, what is the price in euros, Stein? It's like €4,200. So we're not at all concerned about that. I know John's doing a lot of drilling right now. Well, that's about to start. But I suspect that the average grade through that mill will be about 0.8 grams, which is still not a bad grade at this price. John's got 3.5 million tons of stockpile at 0.5 gram. And it's very clear in my mind that Liver is probably the most misunderstood mine in the gold mining industry, in that, and I'm sure over time, when we do some deeper drilling, because the deepest drilling that was ever done at Liver was only 200 meters, proved up 2 million ounce resource. But if those things kept going and they were good grade, if we follow and copy Rupert Resources' model, which is to drill to 700 meters, well, if John does, it's his call now, I think you're going to get to 5 to 6 million ounces. And remember, Liver, our royalty of 2.5% is uncapped. So it runs for, I think Liver will go, well, I won't know because I won't be around, right? But at least 40 years, at least another 40 years once it gets going, and be extremely profitable. And Jim Jackson, Percy, the whole team up there, Tony, amazing guys. But again, I've handed it over to John 12 months ago. He's doing a brilliant job with Sean and Jeremy, and they're going to list actually Liver actually next month. And I think that's going to be phenomenal performer this year on the market.
Very exciting future, that's for sure. I will quickly jump to Q&A question for Mario specifically, I think. Peter Dams 8047 asks, will you expand to copper or other metals, or stick to gold and silver? Mario, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah,
I've always focused on gold and silver on my channel, but yeah, copper is it's kind of an uncle or a cousin, excuse me, of gold and silver. Historically, it has been like money, but I think copper is going to do very well too. I'm not sure whether that's going to play a part in Chancery royalty, but yeah, I'm still just focused on gold and silver though. For me, those are the monetary metals, and copper is more of the metal for the technological electrification, I guess, of the world. That's going to be very important. And I'm not saying that I don't think copper will do well, because I think it will. I think it's making, well, it's made all-time highs of recent.
Perfect. Thank you for that overview. Next question we have, supporting infrastructure needed in Keffy, such as power, water, skilled manpower. Are there any concerns, and how about geopolitical risks?
Well, Ethiopia is coming out of obviously a long civil war and turbulence, and we're going to be going down the second week of February, Mario and I. But I hear it's booming. The country's booming now. Great and strong leadership. Harry's got 2 big African banks funding most of the development. He has done a lot of work over these last few years planning. Now, of course, there's always risk to projects when you build them. There's always risk of delays, cost overruns. But he's had a lot of time to think about it, and it's in a very safe part of Ethiopia. And I think you're going to see. We've modelled first gold pour for Harry for Q1 28, but I think he's going to do it before that actually. But yeah, definitely look at Keffy. Keffy is, to show you how we roll. We met Harry before Christmas. Loved the story. Redid the term sheet. Went binding in 3 days, and then we committed £800,000 to the recent fundraising he did. And I think he really appreciated our fast move in the way we do it. And we're very happy shareholders of Keffy. We got set at 1.3p, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's a 7 to 8p stock by year end. I really think that's going to be one of the best performing names in London this year. I picked Sarabi Gold 2 years ago. I said Sarabi Gold would be the #1 performer in the London stock market, and it has been. Now Keffy's going to take over the baton and really perform well this year. So you take a look at that one, Keffy, gold and copper.
Excellent. Question from Seba Hoff. Good afternoon. Can you give us a short overview of the other board members and what is exactly your dividend strategy? Thanks. So perhaps a short recap of what a dividend strategy is exactly.
Yeah, dividend strategy is basically at the end of the year, you have a certain pile of cash, which should be fairly substantial, given that all of our royalties, the first 3 will be producing pretty good numbers by the second half, and starting in Q2 for 2 of them, Pilar and Liber. So we said over 50% goes out to shareholders. We're all shareholders. I think at current gold prices and at current geo forecast, that puts us on a yield of about 15% this year, back end loaded for the second half. So but there's always risk and delays, but we do want to pay a big, healthy dividend. A lot of the reason the other royalty guys don't pay those big, chunky yields is because they borrowed a lot of money and they have a lot of debt, whereas we're debt-free, and we like to stay debt-free. We've always done that kind of historically in our group. And the other thing that question you had before, we were only going to do gold and silver. We're not, you won't see us do an iron ore royalty or a nickel royalty. And so we also have the highest exposure to gold and silver out of any of the royalty plays in the market right now.
Perfect. And the first part of the question was regarding the other board members aside from Mario.
Yeah, so Tom Puppendale's joined, myself and Mario for now, 3 of us, yeah. And we have a wonderful investor out of Singapore. I think he's watching. I can't name the names right now, but he's very keen, and we're very keen to get him on the board as well. Starts with an R, but I can't announce that just yet.
All right. Thank you for that sneak peek. Next question, I think, is great for Mario. Emilio Alvarez is asking, what is the reason for the intended IPO of Chancery Royalty Limited? So talking through the importance of going public and how that can unlock shareholder value.
Yeah, I guess if you want to compete with the other royalty companies, you have to go public. And from what Jeremy has told me, they decided to create this company not long ago. So it's all very fast. And and the IPO, I think, will probably also unlock the true value of the current projects, and will allow the company to expand as well.
And Jeremy, that moving fast that Mario also outlined, and you yourself earlier as well, how important do you think that is for your competitive advantage as a royalty company entering the space? Different network than the other players have. So how important is it to move so quickly and get these deals done?
This sort of price, very important. But a part of the background of why we have something to prove in the royalty space was all of our 4 gold companies got turned down by every royalty player, in different stages. We know, I don't know why we got turned down. I think they just, they do 99%.
Oh, we seemed to have lost Jeremy there for a second. Let's hope that he comes back in just a few seconds. We'll see if he drops on again. Mario, perhaps we can quickly transition to you. Sorry to pull the trigger there, but perhaps you can talk about the long-term vision that you have for the precious metals complex. Oh, there Jeremy is. We'll give him a few seconds to sort everything out. But the long-term vision you have.
Am I back now?
Jeremy, you want to continue your answer?
Sorry, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Do you want to continue your answer, Jeremy, or should I continue moving my question to Mario?
Can you hear me, Stein?
Yeah, we can. You can't hear us? Can you hear us?
Stein, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Maybe I'll log out. You keep talking.
Sounds good. Let's do that. Mario, I was going to ask precious metals complex what your long-term outlook is. Of course, with a royalty company like this, you can get incredible leverage to a gold price rise. But what is your long-term outlook for the precious metals complex?
Yeah, tomorrow is January 20th. And the reason I say that is because the top of the 1970s bull market was January 20th or 21st, around the same date in 1980. And then gold went into a bear market for 20 years. But I think this time around, the world's changing because mainly of the huge amount of debt that we're under. And aside from thinking, my view that gold and silver are going to continue to do well in terms of price, gold and silver are going to become, in my opinion, the new central banks. And what do I mean by that? Well, that's where the money is going to come from now, from the ground. And central banks, individuals, corporations, they will want to have gold and silver reserves in terms of just paper. And by paper, I mean bonds and treasuries and government bonds. So that's why I think it's so exciting to be part of this project with Chancery royalty for me.
Hi, Stein. I'm back, mate.
Happy that you were able to figure everything out, Jeremy.
I had a WhatsApp call come through and it knocked me out.
All right.
Yeah.
The
question what was the question? Something about, I can't remember.
Why you were so fast, right? And you're saying that you're refused by 4 royalty companies or something.
Oh, we got refused by every royalty player. And even when we came close to doing a deal with some of them, they then changed the terms at the last minute, or they pulled out because of some weird due diligence, question that I didn't even understand, or no one on our minds understood. So I think their problem is that their model doesn't work anymore, not at 4,600 gold. And their model is, hey, we're the only game in town. This is the way they always thought. We're the only game in town. You need us. And we're going to screw you on the terms. We're going to take 6 months of your life for due diligence, and then we may just change our mind at the last minute anyway. So that's what we went through. So we thought, well, you know what, we're going to do this differently. We're going to be, we're coming from the gold mining industry. We think like gold miners. We think then we know the pressures that they're under. We know the time pressures and the capital and making salary payments at the end of the month. So we don't go heavy on due diligence. We have a strong team. I've got a whole team of staff that I can pull in from our mining group. But we know at 4,600 gold, every project you look at will make a lot of money. Now, the problem with the other royalty players is they spent now 99% of their time doing due diligence on the project and 1% thinking about where the gold price would go. And that's why they kind of missed a trick between 2022 and 25, where the market, you remember, I remember listening to Mario and we're all super frustrated, weren't we? Because gold was always 1,800, 1,700, 1,900. It never broke through 2,000. And the royalty guys missed a massive trick in not hoovering up amazing value creative royalties on new projects. So yeah, we're going to move fast. We can after a site visit, we'll give you a binding term sheet after site visit if we even need one. and will fund you in 30 days. And no one can do that in the industry.
No, definitely. No one can do that in the industry. We have a question from Rob from Dig Deep, the mining podcast. How does Chancery Royalty differentiate itself from traditional mining royalty companies? Of course, we've talked a little bit about that, but where do you see the biggest value creation over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think, honestly, Robin, great question, mate. Our royalties are running for the next 30, 40 years. A lot of these royalties are like on other peers have got, open pits out of Kalgoorlie that run out in 3 years, 4 years. They need to find new product, new stories. So we have a very long life product, which will go for a very long time with no caps, no step downs, and $0 an ounce. It's an amazing business model. They say that royalties are the ultimate business model in private equity, you can't, as Mario said, you can't think much of a better model, right? You can do the business on your phone. It's all about relationships. It's all about having access to capital. You need one good accountant. What else do you need? You can do it very skinny, and the margins for Chancery are over 95%, at least 95%, whereas our peer group are running at 80%. So we run very tight. You won't find us in the posh clubs, in private members clubs. We're simple folk. You'll find us in the local pub, and it's all about relationships, trust, and respecting your client. Your client is the gold miner, and they're king. Make sure that they get their money on time and they build their project and reap the rewards for it.
Yeah, definitely. 2 clients, indeed, the gold miner and of course the investor. So yeah, incredible business model. Planet Izzy is asking, Keffy is expected to be a large part of your future financial success. Have you visited the Tulu Kapi site previously at all? And is construction underway yet?
I've been following Keffy for a number of years, and a dear friend of ours, Cedric Middleton's been in my ear about Keffy for the last 18 months. Said this is the greatest project in Africa. And when Harry turned up in London for the Metals and Mining Conference, it's called something else now, Mines and Money Conference just before Christmas, I felt I knew it already. So we haven't been to site yet, but we're going there in February, middle of February with Mario. But that project's been DD'd a lot already with 2 big African banks committing a lot of money. What was the question? They're going to start very soon. Very soon, yeah.
A few months away from construction start, wasn't it?
Yeah, a couple of months. But, I know Harry's on the phone to me every day. They're very busy. I tell you, it is such an exciting story, Keffy. Keffy, unbelievable. The market's missed a trick. It reminds me a lot of when K92 was 40 cents and no one wanted to know. It's now $23. No, sorry, 25. Really similar parallels. Yeah.
Quick reminder for anyone watching, we'll continue as long as there's questions, so keep them coming in the Q&A, or at least, within normal limits. We have a question from the EU are traders. That's an interesting name. Is June realistic for a listing expectation?
Yeah. As long as Libra and Pilar are producing, and I think they will be. But to list a royalty company is pretty fast because you don't have to refresh your 43101s. We don't have to do audits because we only really effectively are starting from January 1 for this year. We've been approached by a number of groups in Canada. We've got our eye on one shell that we'd like to use. We've been approached by a group in London. We're Bermuda domiciled. So obviously that's important. But yeah, absolutely. In this market, everything's possible, right? And you want to, as Mario said, you want to unlock that difference that we're trading at 1/5 the average valuation now to our peer group and get that in the market. Importantly, also, you have Tether. Tether's in the market buying up a lot of our competition. And, and I think the whole space is up for grabs, right? There's M&A kicking off at the moment and everyone's in play.
No, definitely. Mario, I would, there's a comment for you in the chat. Mario is the gold standard man of Chancery Royalty. Rock on, guys, exciting times. And someone asked regarding, the geographical risk of Africa. They state that Africa, in my opinion, is the future. And I would love to hear from your perspective, Mario. How are you looking at Africa from a geographical risk perspective?
Geographical or geopolitical or?
Geopolitical. That was the term I was looking for.
I mean, there's geopolitical risk everywhere, it seems these days, even in Greenland, which is part of Denmark. So, and like Jeremy said about Ethiopia, from the 70s till the early 90s, it was a rocky, they had civil war, and they were, yeah, it was a horrible period. But in the last 10 years, it's one of the most dynamic economies in Africa. I saw the other day that they're building a new project there, a new airport in the capital, spending $12 billion. They want to be like a hub for that region. It's not just Africa, but you've got the Middle East very close. So yeah, I mean, there's geopolitical risk, I think, everywhere. But if you're diversified and you have several other royalties, that's the only like protection you can really have. But I think, as I always said on my channel about things in general, they go in cycles. So yeah, the bad cycle for Ethiopia, I guess, was from the 70s to the early mid 90s, even though I don't know, I'm not a specialist on Ethiopian history, but I would say that they're probably more on the up than down.
Mm.
Gentlemen, are we good to go for a few more questions?
Yeah, absolutely. All the time in the world for you guys. Yeah.
Excellent. We have, sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Mario, are you okay for time? I know you're
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. We have actually two very important questions about the same topic. Good morning from Punta Gorda, Florida. Do you have to be on the board to own one of those Chancery royalty caps?
No, we're very happy to send you one. Ed Balm gets these made in Brazil, in Goiânia. And I think Mario and I are going to have to pick up a suitcase full next time we go together to visit Pilar soon. But they're going like hotcakes. I like this design actually a lot. So we should, if you're interested, if you like one, just let us know. No problem. We'll send you one.
I got mine actually before you offered me the board membership when we went for a coffee. So there you go.
Yes.
Not exclusive.
You know, Stein, I'm really I'm selfishly asked Mario to join the board just because I think he's going to be such a nice person to travel with. Great company. I could talk to him for hours. He speaks 5 languages. I just find that amazing. A simple Tasmanian like me, I can barely speak English. And I'm really excited to travel with Mario, and I think he's going to be such a valuable addition to our board. Just really proud that he's come on board. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Appreciate that. We have a question from Sanji. How much cushion is built into your 4,000 ounce forecast if there are delays?
We're pretty conservative on numbers, but yeah, you could always slip a few 100 ounces. And don't forget, we have a few up our pipeline that might mean that we could double that this year. Yeah. So I don't think it's definitely not our last deal, and we could be 8,000 geos pretty quickly. So look, we may miss it a couple of 100 ounces, but no one, these are long life, 30, 40 year royalties. Yeah. So there's always that risk. But I'll tell you one thing I would say is that in $4,600 gold, things generally happen much faster. In 1,600 gold, everything was very slow and difficult. So everything, the only issue you might have is lead time for machinery, stuff like that. But in this sort of market, everything happens quickly. On the mines, on the mines.
Yeah, appreciate that. We actually have 2 very similar questions that I'll try to combine. First, we have the question, what is the tether effect of buying royalty companies? Perhaps we can pass that along to Mario. And the second question, I'll keep that for a second and first listen to Mario's answer. Apologies.
Tether, yeah. I mean, I've been following Tether for a few years because, yeah, that's the biggest stable coin for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And they're supposed to be backed by 1-to-1 with the US dollar. But I guess they really are realizing that having a fiat dollar backing is not really a good thing, because the dollar is getting more and more like debased. So they've graduated into real money, and I'm not surprised that they're trying to back their stable coins with not just royalty companies, but I've heard they're buying bullion itself, I think.
Yeah.
So, and like Jeremy has said, because he hadn't realized that until recently. So we're going to be like they're going to be attracted to companies like Chancery, and that's why the IPO also is so important to get us out there in the public domain. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for that overview, Mario. We have a follow-up question, I think perhaps great for Jeremy. Tether is buying gold royalty companies. They're large shareholders in small royalty players, like Mario already outlined. And then the question is, has Jeremy been approached by Tether?
No, I haven't been approached, and we're not in a mad rush to speak to them. If they'd like to get involved, one, you're welcome to call me, mate. I know where you live, but and very impressive chap. But it won't be at $2 a share. So we just feel that we can build this business with our own amazing, loyal Barmy Army. I call them the Barmy Army. We have these guys travel with us on every game, and they've backed us. We have supporters. Nicola down in Kingston in South London backed us on every company. Charlie Morgan's, we have 2,000 shareholders, but people who've really backed us, Jeremy Willits and Rajesh in Singapore. I mean, wow, amazing. My phone, I spend the whole day talking to our shareholders all around the world. So if we didn't have WhatsApp, I'd really struggle to operate. But no, very happy to talk with them. But right now we're quite content and very well funded, and we could take significantly more money at this round if we wanted to, but the board's keeping a lid on it.
Thanks for outlining that, Jeremy. We have another question from VZ5374. How much is the administration cost of the company and management and board remuneration?
Very little. Ask my wife. So yeah, we run a very tight ship, and we don't have an office. Everyone works remotely, so it's really just listing fees, audit fees. Board fees are very, very small. We incentivize everyone who works with us. Our whole team has always been through stock and options. So cash-wise, it's a super tight structure. We don't have one of these posh offices like the other royalty guys do have in Vancouver or Mayfair. We're very humble bunch, lean bunch.
I know that you're both incredibly busy, gentlemen. I'll try to squeeze in one or two more questions, and then we'll have to wrap it up eventually. One more question from Emilio Alvarez. In case of a price correction in metals, will you hedge your exposure to reduce cash flow volatility? Perhaps first a word to you, Jeremy, and then to Mario after.
Emilio is a very dear friend of mine. We worked together in Morgan Stanley 20 years ago. I'd love to talk to him, and I haven't spoken in ages. So no, we won't hedge. We'd like to stay unhedged. That's generally our rule. And, as Mario calls gold better than anyone, so I'll hand it to him.
Yeah, I mean, I like to look at the very long-term charts, like even weekly and monthly. I consider weekly long-term because a lot of people focus on day-to-day or even hourly charts, and we've had some corrections, especially since gold broke like through 2,700 back in 2024. I think it was just before the election in the US, and then after the election it corrected and everyone was worried. But if you look at the long-term charts, the bar charts, especially monthly and even quarterly, if you want to look, it's just a straight line. And I'm not saying we couldn't have a correction for a few months like we had back in 2025 from like April to August, but they're healthy, and I don't see the governments, the central banks tightening policy because we have a debt problem, and they're going to have to keep inflating the currency in order to keep going. So yeah, I agree with Jeremy. I don't think it's necessary to hedge. It's if anything, it's dangerous to hedge because the correction ends, and then you're giving up a lot of profit that you could have had if you hadn't hedged.
Perfect. Thank you. Last question, very short one for Jeremy from Peter Dams. How many shares does management own?
The whole group is about there's 38.5, so about 15%. Yeah. So we're not we didn't gouge with this. You know, everyone's participated in these rounds. So yeah, we generally, I find from my experience with all of our companies, is we always price these very cheaply, and we're happy to take the dilution in. But we bought all these mines so cheaply over the last 7 years. But we're very important that we get our shareholders set at a very, very good level. So, for example, anyone who backed us on Tucano, when that lists in June with Jefferies out of New York, I think that's a 14x. Anyone who backed us on Liver, that's probably a 6x on the first day of trading. Pilar was slow burn, but I think it's going to be a 6 to 7x. And Gold Road, at least a 10x. And that's listing in Oslo in next month. In fact, today is my last day as CEO of Gold Road, because I've stepped down from all the senior management companies on the mining side. Niels is taking over as CEO, Svein's our chairman, because we're 100% focused on royalties now. I'm not going to deal with any of the day-to-day stresses, and I don't have the time, because we want to build Chancery Royalty into at least $1 billion company this year.
Excellent. Perfect. For anyone watching that wants to get in direct contact with Chancery Royalty, the first link in the description. Of course, you can leave your details and they will reach out. Of course, Mario, thank you so much for being here and swinging by. Your channel is also linked in the description. I'm sure it's unnecessary for most people. For anyone that isn't familiar with Mario Innecco, great macro analysis, also a bit short-term price action, incredible precious metals analyst. So that channel is definitely linked down below. Gentlemen, any final words before we wrap up?
Just want to say thank you, everyone, for their support in this round. If you haven't heard from our team, it's only because we've been a little bit swamped with the response. But we will get to you. And Friday's our closing day for commitments. Just let us know by then. We don't need the money on Friday, but you know, we've got nearly 2,000 sophisticated investors now who've backed us, mums and dads, and you make all of this possible. We don't rely on institutions. We don't rely on private equity. We don't rely on Tether. We don't need to have big banks lend us money. It's people power, and this is going to turn into something very, very special. We are the fastest growing royalty, gold and silver royalty group in the industry, and we're going to really make waves. And we're just so thrilled that Mario has joined the board. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you guys so much, and that will be the end of the live stream. Thank you.